Hello and welcome to a conversation on the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined today by an awesome progressive advocate, and I've used his site countless times. I can't tell you what an invaluable resource LocalBerniecrats is. From LocalBerniecrats, Josh Copeland. How you doing, Josh?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing well. Thank you. And I'm still rocking to that intro. That is awesome stuff. I love it.
Right? Yeah, I want to have something a little bit aggressive, right? It's, it's.
I love it. I also have a background in multimedia. I have a degree in film, and I used to do some motion graphics, not professionally, not very much professionally, but that was really neat. I was very impressed, man.
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it. It also gives people an opportunity to join in as we're going live. So sometimes I think it's a bit long, but I like that it gives a few seconds for people to come in. But it's nice to chat with you. Like I said, your website, LocalBerniecrats, is an invaluable resource. I've gone there to look up candidates, look up local races. You have surveys. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but I want to ask you about, what your site does, the components of it and so forth, how people can get registered and use it. But what's the origin of it? Obviously, the name means something, but how did you start LocalBerniecrats and when?
Yeah, really, this all started in 2016 when Bernie was towards the end of the primary. He was looking like he was going to lose. He was already starting to tell folks, hey, we really need a bottom-up political revolution. And then that was sort of a new term to me. But he was very clear that we need people to run for local office and state office so that those people at those levels can help to elect other progressives, pull levers, and make things easier for other candidates to run. And also you get the name recognition, and so once you've run at the local or state level, you have a much better chance of winning at the top. And that's how we get more people in at those levels. We really need to focus on those levels, and so he started our revolution. But just before he announced all of that, I actually had started this LocalBerniecrats, where we started a Facebook page, and I started reaching out to a bunch of people and asked them, would you like to start a local chapter in your area where we encourage progressives to run for office in your area and support, organize and support those who do. And so we just put together a list of all of these local chapters. And right now I think it's about 200. Now, I don't know if all of them are active. I actually have to go through that process now that we've been through another cycle and just sort of, kind of check in on all the chapters. But we have a good long list of chapters for each state, and now it's on a website. I actually was becoming a software engineer, a software developer, a web developer, and so I built a website, and it's about to go through another overhaul now that I'm now 5 years in. Now I can, I've got some newer technologies I'm about to put onto it, so it's going to have a lot of really great features that I think people are going to really find helpful to get. Find something to do local in their area, to get involved in the political process and actually make a difference, and provide sort of crowdsourced data and all kinds of things like that. So we'll see what happens. I really want to just be a niche in the movement. I know that there are other organizations that try to elect progressives. Not a lot of them are focused down ballot. Many, some of them are, and I know that some of the bigger organizations will have a list of candidates that they vet, that they have endorsed, but not the ones that are, didn't have the chance to get through that very difficult vetting process. And so what our organization will do is we'll initially vet candidates that apply. They'll take a whole survey, they'll apply, and we will initially vet them by going through all of their answers, sort of cross-check it, see how it looks on their website or their social media, and just see if there's, if it looks like it matches up fairly well, and then list them. And that way it'll be an initial vetting that other organizations and other voters can continue that that vetting process. I think we all need to be vetting our candidates every step of the way anyway. So this gives people visibility much easier than going through all the hoops, and sometimes it's even impossible to even get. I've heard a lot of candidates report in previous elections. It was 1 or 2 cycles ago, they couldn't even apply at one of these. Like their website was not working, the application was not working at one of the bigger organizations' websites. So, it's just difficult for a lot of. For a lot of candidates to get visible, and this allows people to get on the site, get listed, and voters from everywhere can see anyone at any time. So that's where we're at so far.
Yeah, and it's a good resource to go, if you can have an impact outside of your district, right? So it's a good place if you want to, go try to make a difference in another state in a down ballot race, right? You can have an impact. It's a good place, to go look up candidates and stuff. Let me ask just a definitional question. Berniecrat, what's the, and probably baked into that is a little bit like I get it, you get it, probably friendly folks get it, but it could also be a bit off-putting for some folks. So what's the definition? And as we get further away from 2016 and 2020, how's that definition going to, either add favor or disfavor?
Sure. At that time, I saw it as a lighthearted word that really meant any really strong progressive that and it uses Bernie's name, which very quickly gives you an idea of what standard we're using when we look at somebody's policies. It's very difficult to say, okay, well, you're a progressive. Well, Debbie Wasserman Schultz will, say that she's a progressive, or Hillary Clinton has said that she is a progressive.
Right. Neera Tanden runs the Center for American Progress. It got progress right in the title, right?
Yeah. So it's a tough, so I was thinking, well, what is a really easy word or very quickly absorbable word that gives you an immediate understanding of what kind of, candidate we're talking about? And that's why I chose that word. Although, I think that we could take the word progressive back, it just really depends on how hard we really all want to work at it. And I mean, we know we've got problems at the top, you got corrupt officials at the top and they're calling themselves progressives, but it's almost like, I don't mean never mind that, because we do need to stay on, we do need to yell and scream about the problems and talk about the big national topics that of the day. But part of that problem is, and that's a top-down problem. Our leaders are big national leaders are corrupted by big money, corporate interests, special interests, and that's how the corruption flows from the top down. And Bernie told us that the solution is bottom up. We really need to gain leverage where it's easiest to get in, and once you have those seats, now it's easier for you to get up high at a higher level, and it'll help others get into the process as well. And so it's, we've already had a lot of wins. That's going to help us get even more wins in future elections. And here we are now in filing periods for 2021, which there's hundreds of local and state races. I think a lot of people are not really fully sure about what's going on in there, around the country next year. But if you check out Local Berniecrats, either, on Facebook or Twitter or on our website, find us, because we have lots of resources we constantly put out that sort of remind people, here's what's going on in 2021. And we encourage you to run for something and see if you have something going on in your state. But, there's tons of mayoral elections. There's tons of governorships, state legislatures. There's two of them, one in Virginia and one in there's a whole bunch in Virginia, the House of Delegates in Virginia, and then also the entire legislature in New Jersey is up for, and I don't mean every seat, but a lot of them, probably half. I actually didn't count how many, but quite a few opportunities for progressives to pick up seats in those states, all the way down, to the municipal level. So I really hope that a lot of people find out what's going on in the area. And if there are candidates that do take the plunge, we certainly hope that you do. That will give us many more. We hope that you support them and look for them and support them. And once we get them elected, we're going to have more talent in the pool that when we get to 22 and in 23 is another off-year election, and then 24 is another big one. Hopefully we will have elected many, many more, and see more winning at the top as well. So we have how many bold progressives do we have, in Congress now? I mean, there's different definitions of what bold progressive means, but man, I tell you, we got a lot of people that are on our side for these policies, and they need strength in numbers. Yeah, they need strength in numbers, and we need to give them that strength in numbers. And if I just, wrap up my rant here, but it's going to take it's going to need to be a viral strategy. I mean, it's a little on the nose to say, make this viral, but if we are working as a movement and we really want to take over politics, we all really got to be talking about local. We really do need to be thinking and talking about local.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to continually build that bench, no doubt. And that gets me to bit of a luxury, self-indulgence in talking with you specifically, because I don't want to get just pure fanboy about Bernie with a candidate per se, but what a legend, right? The impact that he has had, and will, that it's going to ripple through the cycles that you mentioned. That even to the point where I can call this Daily Bern, you can call it Local Berniecrats, and it is a shorthand that is unique and principled, right? Just can you talk about, just he's not going to be with us forever, right? So what a legend. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, this is a once in a long time opportunity to spark a lot of energy in the in the movement for justice, and we call it the progressive movement, or you call it the Berniecrat movement, or what have you. But it's this is a really exciting time, and I really hope that all supporters who heard Bernie in 2016 and 2017 be very explicit about we need to run for office all over this country. When I hope that anybody who has ever said feel the Bern also says go local, and really remind each other to do this, and talk about who's running. I can't run, but who's running. I'd love to support. I can knock doors. I can I send you a little money every once in a while, but I'm excited about electing thousands of progressives, because that's really what Bernie needs. That's really what Bernie needs. And Bernie he's still at the top. He's at the top level, and a lot of progressives at the top. This was Bernie's key message in 2016 and 2017 to run for office. He would tell people, we need people in school board and state legislature and mayor and that sort of thing. And this is how he got his start and all that talk. That narrative has shifted away and more towards topics and maybe towards election time endorsements, but not so much the explicit message of run for office. And even Nina Turner and Bernie and a lot of people at the high levels really, and I don't know the reason for this, but I do know for a fact that the Democratic Party does not want progressives to talk about running for local office and state office and transforming the Democratic Party. They hate that we talk about transforming the Democratic Party. They just absolutely hate it. So that at least I know is true. So when you hear that explicit message in 2016 and 2017, now all of a sudden not at all. This should be a very clear message to all of us. This is the Democrats' weak spot. This is where we need to attack. Okay, this has been made very clear. Bernie exposed the Democratic Party's weakness, and that he's not the only person to have this strategy. A lot of other people, talked about going down ballot, but Bernie excited us about it, and I really hope that that continues to catch fire. And let me tell you this one quick analogy. I think it helps a lot of people. So when you build a fire, like a bonfire, you don't light the logs first, right? Nobody expects the logs to light first with your lighter. You have to have a bunch of little kindling and twigs and sticks and bigger sticks. And then once all of those start to light from the bottom up, now you have enough energy for the logs to ignite and catch fire. So that's why we need a whole bunch of local, municipal, school board, party leadership seats. I cannot leave that out. In fact, that's one of the biggest parts of taking over the Democratic Party, is that we're going to have to show up at everybody's got these local Democratic Party meetings. Not everybody, but actually you could start one if you don't have one. But all the cities have a Democratic Party local club in your sort of area. And a lot of them are just, a few old people show up, if you don't mind, old school Democrats. And if a bunch of Bernie supporters show up, they will be able to vote in those Democratic Party meetings and choose which candidates that club is going to endorse. It also helps to elect committeemen, like the state committeemen for the Democratic Party. And when you have that, then those people can vote for the DNC and that sort of thing. So that is also how this bottom-up thing works. So all you really got to do to get into just the first step, even if you're not running for office, or if you're thinking about running for office, you have no idea where to get started, the best way to get started is to look for your local Democratic Party meeting. And all you got to do to find it is just go on Google, type in your city, and type in city plus Democratic Party. So I'm in Norfolk, Virginia. I would type in Norfolk Democratic Party, and you'll find their website or some information about where they meet. Usually it's once a month. And this is a prime opportunity for a bunch of people to get together. And so that's one of the reasons why we have a bunch of local chapters for people to organize and make that kind of a thing happen.
That's great. Yeah, you mentioned there were 200 or so chapters, and actually, while I'm here, let me pull up the website. And you said not all of them are necessarily active, right? So
yeah, some volunteers signed up to be a chapter leader, and then after, say, Bernie lost or they got very angry at the Democratic Party, some of them have just stopped working it. Although a lot of these chapters, even though the admin may be gone, a lot of them are groups so that they people continue to organize there. So
like San Francisco Berniecrats is a big one. I know they're doing
very active
everything, right?
But
there's tons of them out there. But so on your website, LocalBerniecrats.com, I'm so used to not plugging someone to donate, right? But it's
there's no donation link. We don't ask for money. There's no donation links. I don't have a Patreon. We don't ask for money at all. We just ask people to donate to the candidate of their choice. We ask you to consider running. And just help out, spread the message of the key strategy to win everything, and that's really bottom up, local and state races.
Excellent. So you have just to tour the site a little bit, so you can go to your state. There's only a handful, and actually there's a few more than the last time I was in here. But anyone that has an asterisk has active candidates. We just sort of went through the cycle, so we kind of fleshed it out here. But you can come in here and see each candidate, what they're running for, contact info, their socials and so forth, right? And if you click on their website, then you can read their policies if they have, policies on their website, which if it's on Local Berniecrats, it's been vetted, right, to an extent. So, the policies are going to be, under the umbrella of, what we expect from a progressive, a Berniecrat, if you will, right? So, it's good to find local candidates this way, and then you can donate, right? So again, if you have time to volunteer, you have money to donate, go find candidates on here. This would be a great way to, to bolster those candidates.
Yeah, even if they're not in your district too, if they're somewhere else in your state, you can certainly donate to them, or take a little drive, once a month and knock doors, or what have you.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this, especially these down ballot races, like a city council seat, a little bit goes a long way. So if if you're in it to win it, right, and you sort of got over your 2020 election fatigue, and you still have some energy and resources or whatever, like get in here and jump into some of these races, right? These numbers are going to grow. Like I said, we're just after the cycle, so there's only 8, but you get hundreds and hundreds of them in here as time goes forward. So
right now we're in filing periods for 2021, and some of the filing periods have not started. But as we get more candidates, running, and also they need to be aware of our site. We are working on the next version of the site where people can actually suggest a candidate that they know is running, and then we'll reach out to them with an email address that you provide, that sort of thing, and we can have them apply, fill out the survey and apply, and have a full vetting, a full listing at that point. So we'll try to get more data soon. But we are waiting for candidates to apply. So right now there's I think there's 8 listed right now at the very, very early onset of filing periods. That's to be expected. Right. But so if you don't see anybody running in your state listed, that doesn't mean that there won't be. So keep checking out, checking back.
Yep. And you have this, you can view their policy responses. So for each of these candidates, like Josh said, there's a survey that they fill out, and it's, something of a litmus test. I don't know if you would explicitly call them appearing on here as an endorsement, right? But you certainly have vetted it to some extent. Correct. And you can read their direct responses on policy issues, right? They may or may not be pertinent to their local race, right? But you can certainly see where they stand, and it's 50 some questions. This is pretty extensive. So, it's almost a little bit better than just a yay or nay endorsement. So you can get in here and there's a bit of nuance on some of these candidates, right? So you can really dig in and learn, where these candidates stand.
Yeah, and not only that, there's also a question at the end that allows them to give, additional comments, whatever freestyle, answer they want to provide, just to give a little bit more context to the kind of race that they're running in their particular area. So some of them are local races, and a lot of these topics in the survey are national type questions. Where do you stand on Medicare for all, so to speak? But this allows you to talk about, what's really important in your, in your city, in your town, that you want everybody to understand as well.
So good. Let me ask you, I don't want to keep Tony's name up here because I'm not talking about him specifically, but, it's LocalBerniecrats.com. Let me ask you, I've certainly read a gazillion candidate websites, right? And especially on Medicare for all, you'll find, access to quality and affordable healthcare. They'll say healthcare is a right. They might say, I want to work on a path towards Medicare for all, right? They parse language. They can be clever about it, right? So, how in the weeds do you get about vetting them on policy, right? Just talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, I try to stay away from any one particular answer being disqualifying. Although I've got to tell you, because these questions are yes and no, I think every single person that we've ever listed has said yes to Medicare for all. Okay, right. And so I mean, there may be some nuance in a couple other questions, and they usually will explain, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, do you support $15 an hour minimum wage? Some of them will say, no, I support $20. Because they're in a state that has, the minimum wage of 15 wouldn't be enough. We're talking, California, in various other states. Hawaii is another one where 15 isn't enough. So they're actually for a lot more. So but there are some nuance, and but really all these people that we're vetting is usually it's usually a very easy process because of the way they answered the questions. And once I see that it sort of matches up to whatever I'm finding of them on their website or on their social media that they've provided to us, then I think I find that it's not. I've not seen really anything that's been very controversial. Although there may be. I would say that further looking into some candidates, you might find that some people are suspicious of how sincere some of the answers are, or that they have run before as a Republican and now they're running as a progressive Democrat. I've got to tell you, you got to give people a shot when they, say that they want to run on a different platform and they mean it. Sometimes you have to really listen and give them a shot. And that's why I give them a platform. This is very rare occurrence that we see that, but do continue to look at them, show up to their events, that sort of thing, ask them questions. Right. But these people do need to be vetted. I don't ask anybody, and I make it very clear on our website that listings are not endorsements. They are initial vettings that should be continued by voters and other organizations. But this does allow a lot of candidates to become visible much easier than going through a lot of the hoops with the bigger organizations.
Right. Yeah. Bigger organizations you're talking about, Our Revolution, Brand New Congress, Justice Democrats, folks like that, right?
Yes.
In fact, Our Revolution, this cycle kind of shifted a little bit. I noticed some of the candidates that they were actively endorsing weren't necessarily as full-throated as they would have been the previous cycle, right?
Yeah, and really only one of those organizations is focused heavily on the state and local level, and that's Our Revolution. So there's not many big organizations that are available to list you and endorse you and that sort of thing, and they can only do but so many. Bernie can only endorse but so many, and so it's difficult for a lot of candidates. Now, I guess this is a good time for me to also say, look. I see a lot of opportunity, a lot of positivity. We've already elected a lot of candidates, but I've noticed some issues though with the movement in general, and that is just what I'm hearing from candidates. Okay, candidates are coming to me very often and saying that they are barely seeing 10% of the Bernie supporters in their district even being aware or offering them any kind of material support. That's pretty sad. I mean, these people were inspired by Bernie to run, and yet the Bernie supporters in their own district aren't supporting them, even though they're doing the best they can by running and trying to get their word out. And we are doing the best we can to list them and that sort of thing. And with all of these resources, it's a little hard to swallow that only barely 10% of Bernie supporters are helping them. Now, don't feel shamed if you didn't know somebody running in your area. This is not a shaming. I mean, we're nobody's perfect, but it is a message to say, please, share these messages with your friends who are
Right.
progressives. Share. That's how this should be viral. Usually you share things that are very important, and this is like the way to win should be the most exciting thing that we do. Even around filing periods when there's no more elections happening right now, we're at the this should be actually one of the bigger times for us to really be sharing this encouragement, because we want candidates who are thinking about running and saying, well, I don't know if I'm going to get the support. I don't know if I'm going to have enough of that support this year. They need to perceive that support. They need to see that that voters, but also progressive leaders, that they see on social media, if they're on social media, Twitter and Facebook, they need to see these leaders also talking about down ballot, local ballots.
Mm-hmm.
Just today, I saw a really great, actually it was last night, I saw a really encouraging post by Marianne Williamson, who ran for president. It was a supporter of Bernie's. And she has also been a very big supporter of not just congressional candidates, but also state and local. And she has featured them and talked about them. And then yesterday, right now, again, no elections are happening, but we are in filing periods, and she was very astute and kind and generous to encourage progressives to really think about running right now. And think local, is what she said. So Marianne Williamson is a champion of the down ballot movement, and we need big voices like that. But we also need all of our regular, people like you and me sharing, posts and resources and anything that has to do with progressives winning state or local or even congressional, race. Please share.
Yeah, boy. And it's sometimes it feels thankless. I don't know if you feel this, but you might post, on Daily Bern, I'll post, some Trump news of the day, and it gets a gazillion shares. And then I'll post like, this is a race that we can win. It's like just a hair away, and it gets like 2 likes, right? But you got to keep trying, right? It matters, right? And every little bit matters, right? And I had a candidate on yesterday, Erica Rhodes. She's running in California's 30th against an incumbent, Brad Sherman, corporate Democrat, right? And it's a 2022 election. And, we just kept talking about, you can't have a long enough runway. Like, you have to build name recognition, right? You have to, just what you're saying, you have to be active, get off the bench, right? Run, right? This is the time to do that, because later it'll be too late, right? The cycle will have passed. The machine already knows this, right? So it's incumbent upon us to go in and challenge the incumbents, if you will, right? Here's a nice comment. I suspect this person, Nadia Copeland. Run, fill out the application, right? I imagine this is a relation of yours of some sort.
That's my wife. She is a nurse. She is our other administrator of this organization, and my biggest supporters.
Awesome. Thank you, Nadia.
Good call.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So and those races, the thing about Bernie, and this is kind of what I was hitting at earlier, was, yes, he's still around and he still is at the top of this movement, right? But he's not going to be there forever, right? We need, it's not about him, it's not me, us, right? So we need to keep building these numbers and elevating them cycle through cycle, right? So Bernie inspires AOC inspires Jessica Cisneros, like there's this cycle of candidates, and Local Berniecrats is an incredible resource for that. And if you're well, let me ask you this question. What, from your perspective, people, it takes a little bit of a nudge, maybe, it takes a certain type to want to run, right? If you feel alone, go to Local Berniecrats. There's tons of candidates out there just like you. What do you suspect are the biggest obstacles in like a first-time candidate running? What have you seen, or where have you derived like reluctance or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's the amount of time. People often will reference skeletons in their closet. They just they have a family, they have a full-time job, they have ends to meet, and that's probably the biggest one. But there are going to be people who have the time, and maybe some family member who's supportive, and maybe has a little money to give them a starting seed account. And sometimes if you're in a small district, It doesn't take very much money. You might start your bank account. And there's ways to start the bank account. We've got, by the way, on our Facebook page, we have some videos on how to get involved in your local politics as a Berniecrat and also run for office. So there's tutorials, video tutorials on how to do this by a good friend of ours who is a Berniecrat committeeman, state committeeman. He just won at the state level, named Alan Gerber. He's done a great job with those when I lived in St. Louis. But any case, sometimes all you need is about $500 to start an account and have some friends and family pitch in, have some friends and family run, knock doors for you. And if you're in a district that is less than, say, 200, if you're in a district less than 2,000 people, your chance of winning is all it takes is to put in the sweat hours. I mean, you knock enough doors and you're going to win this, but am I right about that number? It might actually be a lot more than that. I think it's 200,000. If you have 200,000 people in your district, you actually have a really good opportunity to win if you just go and knock some doors. So if you're talking about a school board district, it's usually much smaller. Even some state legislature districts are smaller. And if you're in a bigger district, name recognition is important. So maybe if you had run, if you had held office at a local level, now you have some more name recognition, and now you have a much better chance to get into a state level office or Congress. So once you've held office, it gets much, much easier. So start small. Go local. It's absolutely the best way to get in. And the best way to start, again, is to show up at your local Democratic Party meeting and find some Berniecrats that are there and bring some friends and that sort of thing. And you'll find that you might even get the weight of the local Democratic Party behind you as well, because you ended up getting that endorsement.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of those local, a lot of races go unchallenged or even, vacant. There could be no one challenging a Republican. You could be, and there are other groups, no Dems left behind and so forth, that are sort of trying to fill that gap. But don't get complacent about it. Like Josh is saying, there are loads of opportunities at the local level. So and there's tons of resources for first-time candidates, like you said. It just takes sweat equity is the principal thing, right? To make a difference. And don't get discouraged. Like there are races, Bernie talked about it famously. He won his mayoral race by 10 votes, right? That was his race that he won by 10 votes, right? Cori Bush didn't win her first cycle. It was her second cycle that she won. Ro Khanna didn't win his first time. He won his second or third time, right? So you got to stay in this fight. So LocalBerniecrats.com, just an absolutely incredible resource. Let me ask you mentioned you're redeveloping the site, going to relaunch it with some new features and so forth. Will you be including other endorsements or what other kind of content are you going to build into the Local Berniecrats 2.0, if you will?
Yeah, so there's going to be all kinds of changes, and actually, that I really appreciate that suggestion to include other endorsements. Absolutely, especially if they've been endorsed, we're going to reach out to them and see if we can get them listed, get them to apply for our site, so we can get their answers as well. But we will list them as well until with sort of maybe a incomplete listing, but they would be listed. So absolutely, but also the chapters. Because our local chapters are, still, and I'm not saying some of them are big and doing wonderful things, but a lot of our chapters are still small and humble and working in earnest. But there's so many other chapters that are with other organizations, like our Revolution chapters and that sort of thing. So I also want to list those chapters as well. So there's going to be, more for that. There'll be just a lot of little opportunities for you to get involved. So you'll go to the site and say, click on how to get involved, and they'll give you some choices. Do you want to do you have a little time, a lot of medium time, or a lot of time? And it'll give you some options. It'll give you some cards of information, and you can scroll through them, or maybe hit the random button. It'll tell you, here's what you should do today. Call up and find out what your local election office phone number is, and type it into our form, and now we'll list it for that area or for your state, so other people can find it very quickly if they're a candidate or something. So this is crowdsourced information. That's very easy, right? You didn't have to talk to really anybody, or find out where your local Democratic Party meeting is in your area or your township. Some of them called townships. and we'll also put that on a map so that people can easily, click and find out, what's going on in their area. So we're going to try to make it, easier for you to get involved and to help other people get involved as well. So we're going to all hold hands, we're going to link arms, and we're all just going to flood into the local and state level. And we're going to get somebody to run in your area, and we're going to elect them. And this is going to happen all over the country. And we're going to take over. And, the more people we have elected, the quicker we're going to elect more at the higher levels as well. So, I mean, really, this is just how much are you involved? How much are we all involved? It's just a 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go. Everybody in. So
right on.
That's the call.
And there are other movements like the Sunrise movement is absolutely incredible in terms of like how they, get the numbers in the streets. Like right now there are front lines in Georgia, right? And, like there are these synergies that are kind of happening somewhat separately, but simultaneously, right? So, there isn't a single resource like yours. So yours is invaluable in, like you say, it goes down to the, the city level, the municipality level, right? So there are so many things you can get behind and resources, like Josh said, to, if you want to run. So, again, localberniecrats.com. I feel we're not saying donate, but I do that for this. I think you're the first person I said didn't have to encourage people to donate for. So, thank you for the work you do, and thank Nadia for the work she does and everyone on your team. I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes and a lot of communication and correspondence and sifting through, campaign websites, which is not always fun. So thank you for all the work that you've done heretofore. It's, like I said, a valuable resource, a very valuable resource. So, thanks for the work and keep it up. And, if you're watching this, go like Josh's socials on Twitter. Local Berniecrats is a beast. Anytime someone tweets the last month or so, Local Berniecrats is the next one. Like, get involved in your local races. Like, it's amazing. I love seeing it. It's so great. So keep it up. And thanks for talking to me, and thanks for all that you do. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And by the way, I just wanted to also give a shout out. There's 2 shout outs I really wanted to make too. Okay. So it's not just about Local Berniecrats. You did mention Sunrise Movement. I just love what they're doing. But one of the more recent things that they just announced is that they have candidate training. So if you are interested in running, please contact the Sunrise Movement and look at potentially receiving some training on how to fill out the forms and how to start a bank account and how to campaign and get volunteers and knock doors and that sort of thing. So how to use the voter van and system. So that's one big shout out. So the other one is if you're familiar with Washington state candidates, Jason Call, who ran for Congress, and he's still running. He didn't win, but he's going to keep on going. He is also trying to organize a bottom up effort to take over the Democratic Party in the party's leadership seat. So this is, again, showing up to your club, running for precinct committeeman. And he is looking for anybody in any state who knows the party rules already and is interested in working together on coming up with a system for your particular state where the rules are always a little bit different than others. Somebody who can come up with a plan. And he's got it all planned out for Washington. They're working on other states. He's got a Slack channel where they're really really communicating well about this. And I want to help, try to get some people into his program as well. So, please contact Call for Washington or Call for WA on Twitter, or you can contact us and we'll direct you. We post about his stuff all the time, so you can contact him, and he's always showing up in those social media posts as well to grab people in the comments who say that they would like to do some work in their state. So I really needed to make those points, but
that guy he's a beast as well. I had him on a couple times. He's a superstar. I'll have to reach out to him and have him talk about this. That's awesome. Yeah, he didn't, in his race, there are people. That's the thing about Bernie too, is that he was unflappable, right? No matter how much he was effed with by the DCCC and so forth, DNC, like, he didn't miss a beat. He was always like, our job now is, right? The day after they screw him, he would say, our job now is. Jason Call, right after, his race, I think he went to Georgia, I think it was. I forget who it was. He was immediately in another state on this other side of the country knocking on doors. The dude's tireless. We need more like him. So I'm glad that you gave him a shout out. So
you nailed it. We need more leaders, people who are running for Congress, people who are in Congress. We need as many leaders, people who have blue checks next to their name, or people who have some following. We need them to talk about, hey, we've got 2021 elections coming up. We are in filing periods. We need you guys to really run. We need some people that are going to inspire, people are going to inspire more candidates. And, Jason is one of those big leaders, and I really appreciate him for that. As well as Marianne Williamson. And I'm willing to shout out anybody else too. I just need to see more of it.
Right on. Awesome, Josh. Well, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. Let's talk again throughout 2021, especially when your new site launches. I want to be all over that. So keep doing what you're doing. Looking forward to the new site. Like I said a dozen times already, thank you for all the work here. It's incredible resource. LocalBerniecrats.com. Go check it out. Like their socials, follow them on Twitter, share this video, share anytime you see that, and run. So
That's it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Eric.
Cool. Thank you, Josh. Bye.
Bye-bye.